for you to say that.
Why is that? I mean, you should go announced, for God's sake. Roger was a past CPO1 president and very active in some road work in front of St. Vincent's Hospital.
I was just going to say, you have me
And
on
his
the edge of, you have me on the edge of my seat for the introduction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we aren't going to go into the down.
Oh, Amanda's here.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been going on for 30 years.
Yeah.
35, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been through a lot of. Who was president after you?
Oh,
Was it Leeper or Carol?
could be Leeper.
I think it was Leeper. Yeah. And then John.
I got married and my wife made me quit. Quit community
Well,
politics.
so it took you 30 years and here you are back again, or 20.
Well, she's
when was
out
that?
of town.
That was in the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. 89, 90, and yeah. So I've been distracted for many years, but you know, it's a great thing. I enjoy tuning in on the Zoom thing. Really makes it convenient. So.
Well, I liked your proposal a lot, in that it was concise and particular and could be addressed as a thing rather than just sort of a concept you wave around.
Okay, it's 7. Let's not entertain everyone with our chit chat. Let's start the meeting. We don't have a ton of attendees yet, but let's go ahead and get going. I am going to record the meeting just in case we have any sort of a YouTube disaster.
This meeting is being recorded.
There you go.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Tuesday, June 4th version of
CPO1.
Yes, CPO1. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do 3 things at once. I can manage 2, but 3 is a little bit too much. And as we always do, I would like to start the meeting with our land acknowledgement, and I'm going to share my screen and read our statement. We acknowledge the people on whose land we live, the Apfolody Kalapuyans, also known as the Tualatin Band of Kalapuyans, the first inhabitants of Washington County. We are grateful for the land we are on, Kalapuyan land. Signers of the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 were removed from their homeland to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. Today, their descendants are tribal members of Grand Ronde and Siletz tribes, carrying on the traditions and culture of their ancestors. We acknowledge and express gratitude for the ancestors of this place and recognize that we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. In remembering these communities, we honor their legacy, their lives, and their continuation in our community. I'd like to invite all of us to reflect on the role government has played in the painful colonial history and reflect as well on the resilience and healing of the Indigenous land and communities. We invite everyone to collaborate and work together with the tribe to take care of the land and water and the people who inhabit these spaces. And I always like to say that that's kind of what we're doing with the CPO system here, is taking care of the land and the people. If not us, who? Well, our elected representatives, for one. So with that, we have reports from our service providers. I see we have a pretty good complement of folks here tonight. Let's go ahead and start with Tualatin Hills Park and Rec. Brian Yorstone.
Virginia, thank you very much. As Virginia said, my name is Brian Yorstone. I work at the main HMT complex off of 158th and Walker. and I run the athletic center and the tennis center. I just have a couple updates for this evening. Number one, I brought it up last week, but I wanted to remind folks that the outdoor splash pads are open and ready for summer.
As soon as summer is ready for us.
I was going to say, hopefully summer comes. Cedar Hills Park, Timberland Park, and Reflections Plaza are open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on a daily basis. And the splash pad at Conestoga in South Beaverton is open during facility hours. The Rock Creek Trail, asphalt paving and repair will be completed along the Rock Creek Trail between Northwest Meadowlands Terrace and Northwest Kaiser. And this work is scheduled to be done this month. We are partnering with the Eagle Scouts, and we currently have Scouts building youth picnic tables for district preschool programs, replacing the remaining split rail fence surrounding the community garden at John Marty Park, installing free little libraries throughout the district, and installing benches at Jackie Houston Park. Fitness update, spring fitness in the park classes ended in May. Approximately 1,000 patrons have enjoyed outdoor classes such as kickboxing, chair fitness, and Zumba Gold. Please check our website at thprd.org for free summer classes for fitness in the park and walk with me. And then lastly, enjoy the Olsen Brothers Band. We have this summer concert series starting on June 23rd. The Olsen Brothers Band is Pacific Northwest popular country band. Activities will also include kids activities and free hot dogs and chips provided by Lola Business Association and Nona Emilia Restaurant. And this will occur again on the 23rd at Mountain Dew Champions Park from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you.
I really like the Scouts getting involved with you doing their projects.
Really
That's
cool.
fabulous.
Yes,
Yeah.
Virginia, you're on mute.
Wow.
Okay, so I am. I want to just briefly share my screen for a moment to show you that Metro is asking for recommendations on funding, and one of the projects is the West Side Trail Bridge, which is we want it to go over Highway 26 so that people can get back and forth without trying to navigate highways and freeways. And this is in the current issue of Cedar Mill News, and it has a link to the project and a link to the survey. So if everyone can take a couple minutes and go to that page, this is in community news, and vote for our project. It makes a difference. It really does. It really does.
Put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I actually have that link. I can put it in the chat for you.
Great. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. If you have the link to the actual survey, that's even better. And that reminds me, I was going to mention to folks, I know most of you are getting kind of used to these Zoom meetings, but just in case you weren't aware of it, down at the bottom of the screen are a bunch of buttons, and one of them is chat. And if you haven't used it before, if you click on that and open it up, it will open a panel and you can see the chat. And then when everybody that's a participant put something to share in that chat box, you can copy it and either paste it as a link or put it into your own email or something so that you can save that. Also, the meeting is going to be available on YouTube, and the transcript of the chat is available on our CPO1 Facebook page. So we try, I guess we feel proud enough of what we do in these meetings to want to propagate the information that we share. And so we try to do that in several different ways. Let's hear from the Sheriff's Department. Corinne? You're muted.
That old trick.
Shoot. Thank you. Yes, Corinne Haining with Public Affairs at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. I just have a few quick summer updates, safety updates, and reminders for folks heading into the summer as the weather hopefully is starting to get warmer. Just a reminder for people to, particularly with children, grandchildren, to stop at 4. So keep the windows at 4 inches or less to prevent window falls. Also, the length of time between Memorial Day and Labor Day is what's known as the 100 deadliest days for driving for teens. So just to help share or remind the youth in your lives and be extra cautious as you are driving as well. Also, particularly because we've had such a mild spring so far, the water is still very, very cold and very high and very swift. So just helpful reminders for water safety. And, you know, even as there will still probably be a couple more weeks before we really start to same for the water that follows. It will take longer for the water to warm up and be at a safe coming out of the sheriff's office. There's a women's safety class. Oh, I see a hand. Okay. There's a women's safety class that has been offered for a number of years by some of our deputies. It's typically a 2-part class, or historically has been, where the first night is focused on information in more of a classroom setting, and then the second night is more of a time to practice some of the self-defense skills that are taught. And we have offered it a couple of times during the COVID season virtually, but we are hoping to be able to offer one coming up soon in person sometime this summer. So keep an eye out for that. And also, I will drop a link in the chat about ways to sign up for our link to sign up for our newsletter. It's just a free monthly newsletter if you're interested in staying in touch. And then also a reminder for people to keep an eye out, or as a group, to sign up for National Night Out, which is the first Tuesday in August. And with that, I will turn it over to Corporal Majors for an update of activity in the neighborhood.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Oh, now it's a little quieter than it was before.
Yeah, I had a different microphone plugged in. I can talk louder if that's better.
How is that for others?
This audio was great when we were getting started.
It'll do. You know, keep it
It'll
brief.
do. It will.
Okay.
The sheriff's office moved to a new laptop system, so we're all learning how to deal with them, the technical problems with them. Let me see if I can share my screen. This is the, don't use this very much.
Oh, go ahead, Fran, while he's loading that. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah. You mentioned the window safety, the 4-inch idea. Is there anything that either in the sheriff's office or the TVFNR or maybe the community services, are there any types of tools or products people could buy to help kind of jam their windows so that they couldn't be opened up more than that? And I know there are all kinds of windows, but I'm just wondering if that might be something very helpful. You know,
yes, I do know that, well, I at least know that there's a very handy small little device, just like you're describing, that's able to be put in place. I don't, to my knowledge, it's not available through the sheriff's office. I don't know about TVFNR, but I'm happy to look into that a little bit more.
I mean, just post it on the website
Sure.
where the community can obtain that kind of a product so they,
Sure.
you know how to help themselves.
I can actually answer
Okay,
that
thanks.
question.
Thanks,
There's
Ray.
multiple different items that you can buy at Home Depot for less than $10. The easiest one looks like a little triangle like this that has a screw in that you put into the slider of your window, and the screw will tighten down to make it so that the window cannot be opened anymore. It uses friction. There's other devices that you can put in that's more like a dowel system, but lock into place. They're very effective. And if you want to go one further more than that, you can put in a mini screen that has an alarm or something like that if you were to have an infant. So I believe you can all see my screen. This is the crime map for May for CPO1, which is going to be our northeast section of Bethany, as well as part of Cedar Hills, Foothills, that area down there. You can see that the most common crime that we have is petty theft. That's going to be theft of less than $100 is what we have. It's a kind of a mix right now of some theft from vehicles, which I'd say 95% of the time it's going to be open door vehicles. That means cars that are left unlocked. And then probably about 5 to 10% of the time you might have a window broken, but that's actually a pretty rarity. Most of these, from what we've seen, are groups of kids that will walk down streets trying doors in the middle of the night. People aren't awake during that time, so they don't find out about it till the morning. If we do have someone that sees somebody walking down the middle of the street, trying different car doors, we will come out and enforce for that. And we have had success on that. The other most common thing that are stolen is going to be packages. We do have a bait package program, and I would encourage anyone that lives in any of the areas that you can see on the crime map that has a lot of petty thefts. If you are interested in signing up for our bait package program, we put you on the list of areas that we can put a bait package on your front porch. We recently had a large amount of houses. I think we had 3 different houses in the Oak Hills area that we had bait packages, but that's run through our detectives. If you're interested in that, you could contact Corrine or I, and I can forward your information to our detective that's in charge of that. In the last 30 days, we've had no major crimes in the Bethany area. In the last 6 months, we've had 1 major crime incident in the Bethany area, as well as Cedar Hills. It continues to be one of the safest areas of the county, as well as not just the northeast portion of Bethany, but Cedar Hills and Bethany combined is one of the safest areas of the county. In addition to the thefts, the thing that I think is affecting most of our citizens the most is going to be the fraud scams that is going on. We've seen a huge uptick in targeted scams among Chinese population, Chinese American or Chinese immigrants that are here for work, as well as our Indian population, Pakistani population, whether they're immigrated or not. A lot of people are targeting them, as well as the elderly as well. I would say that the biggest thing you can do to help with this is put out on whatever social media you have is that the police will never, ever ask you to send them money of any kind online through gift cards or Bitcoin or any kind. We're not a credit service. We don't try to do some kind of trying to get funds that way. That's we run off of levies, and that's how we're designed to do it. And no law enforcement agency, federal or state, will ever ask for money to be sent to them in order to avoid getting arrested. That just doesn't happen. So if someone does have a phone call of anyone claiming to be law enforcement of any kind, and they're saying that you need to pay a bill or a fine or whatnot, or you're going to be arrested. That doesn't happen. If someone does have a warrant out for the arrest, it doesn't matter what the warrant is for. We're going to go arrest them. We're not going to call them and ask them to do some kind of a thing. And that's the most common scam. Is that they'll claim that there's taxes they don't have paid, and if they don't pay the fine, they're going to get arrested. And understandably, that scares a lot of people. So they get scared into compliance. If anybody has a call like that and they have questions, you need to call us, because we'll talk to you and let you know if it's a scam. There's no scam that I haven't heard before, and I can send you links to information sites on how to take care of that. Let's see. If you are having a National Night Out event, you can talk to Corinne, and she can work with the patrol department in order to have a deputy stop by your National Night Out event. We love having the good interactions with our citizens. The sheriff's office has reinitiated, since we haven't been doing ride-alongs since the pandemic started, but we're starting that up again on a limited basis. We're not having as many people do ride-alongs as before, but we're excited about that. Ride-alongs, the Citizens Academy, the Curve self-defense, those are excellent ways for the public to get involved with the sheriff's office. And I guess the final thing to talk about is that one of our sheriff's office canines won the Oregon Top Canine Officer of the Year award through, well, not of the year, but of the competition that we had, of the canine competition that was held, I think 2 weeks ago. So that's a hooray for us, I guess. But that's really all I have. Does anybody have any specific questions?
That was a great report. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm gonna do some work on trying to figure out my microphone. To make
Okay,
it
good luck.
better.
Yeah, it's a perennial
Yeah.
challenge.
If anybody thinks of questions for the sheriff's office after we are done with this segment, please go ahead and type them in the chat. We'll make sure that they get them. So let's hear from Andrea Watson, Tualatin Valley Water District.
Yay, water.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here again this month. We have a few just seasonal reminders. We wanted to let you know it's a good time to tune up your irrigation system, especially if you have an automatic one. A really common error is to set it to water every day. And in this region, I mean, obviously, hopefully you're not irrigating right now. Don't tell my finance people I told you that, but it's raining quite a bit, so we aren't seeing the demands we normally see in June, which is a revenue challenge for us. But you know, we don't want to waste water. And we also just remind you that we do give rebates to customers if they install a weather-based irrigation controller. So that's one that senses that it rained and it won't follow a rote schedule, so you can save water that way. Also, we are, as I think I've told you the last couple of months, due to inflation and supply chain and workforce issues, we are seeing some cost increases for the Willamette water supply, as well as our own internal capital projects. So if you're getting a main replaced or doing any kind of maintenance, it's costing more. On the Willamette specifically, that is the major driver of rates right now. And so we've seen about a $315 million increase since December. So they're big numbers, which it leads us to the decision that that we're going to have to open up the rate process again. You know, normally we do that every other year, and we had set it for 9.5%. There is going to be a proposal to change that 9.5% to 14.25% for November 1st, 2022. So there will be information meetings in person if we can swing that, if the COVID numbers are are amenable to that. If not, it'll be online or hopefully maybe hybrid, so people have the option. We do record those information sessions so you can watch them, and then there'll also be an input process. You know, we have looked in the previous budget cycle at delaying or deferring a lot of capital projects, including elements of the Willamette. They did take away, you know, a storage tank and a few other components to that. Unfortunately, with the permitting process and the decade that it takes to get a project like this kind of off the ground, we can't delay or defer. So we're down to that window of time, which we talked about earlier in the rate setting, is that there comes a point when you can't really change the project. You're just kind of taking that risk and you're stuck with what happens. Then also, in relation to that, we will be having a rate advisory committee. So we're going to be looking for about 20 citizens across different customer classifications. So we're looking for residential, multifamily, commercial, different types of commercial accounts, as well as representations from chambers or West Side Economic Alliance, advocacy groups, and also advocacy groups that advocate for, you know, customers who maybe live in poverty or are veterans or seniors or disabled. We want to really get a good cross section of citizens involved in that. And they will be looking again, we did this last in 2016, at rate design. You know, how do we want to structure these rates? Are there some ways that we can do that make water utility rates more equitable across our customer base? And then also, what kind of assistance programming, you know, should we look at something beyond the emergency assistance that we do now and maybe provide something for, you know, just every month or every other month when you get your bill, if you're a customer who's, you know, continuously, you know, in a place where it's just not affordable anymore. So that committee of 21 will be looking at those issues and making recommendations to our board of commissioners, the 5 people elected to represent you and the district business, by the end of this year. And so the whole goal of that is to have any programmatic changes, you know, teed up and available for our next biennial budget process, which will start in the spring of 2023. So we'll be announcing that here in the next day or two via a press release and information on our website. Virginia, I'll be sure to get it to you for the Cedar Mill News. But there'll be a little online form that you can apply, and then the board will be looking to appoint those members. And then last, just as a reminder, we are going to be upgrading, this also came out of the 2016 Rate Advisory Committee, our customer billing system. So for about 20 years, we've had our software program that we wrote and our billing partner, Clean Water Services, we do a substantial amount of billing for them. They were partners in that. They basically contracted with TVWP for those services. The new system, which is scheduled to go live on July 5th, is going to have a much more robust package for our customers to receive information, more ability to ask for services or rebates or any kind of, you know, communication you'd need to have with us as a utility will be available through the customer portal. When it goes live on July 5th, it's going to be at the very basic level, and then additional features will be added. That was the advice of the steering committee as well as our consultants on this, to not make until you know that it's generating bills that are correct. And so in the practice sessions we've had to go live, we're at about 99.7% accuracy. So we feel really confident about this go live. And then this will enable us to offer a lot of additional features, additional ways to pay. Eventually, we would be able to roll out things like monthly billing. Right now, we're on every other month. So it's just going to be sort of a better brain and a more commercial, off-the-shelf, cloud-based issues. So you will need to re-enroll in that, but it's going to be a little simpler than our previous conversions, and you'll be able to set up your own automatic payments, but also, like, as we add features, you know, if you need extended time to pay, you'd be able to request your own payment arrangements and things like that. So it'll extend the amount of time we can serve the customers through the online portal and not be so limited to our business
That
hours.
sounds,
So I see a number of hands.
that
I don't
sounds
know.
absolutely great.
Be brief, we're running late.
So
Okay.
thank you. I appreciate your perseverance in dealing with the cost increases on the Willamette water supply, because you've done a stellar job in predicting what we're going to need in like 5 years. So you're really doing the community a tremendous service by providing our first food to us in water. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And we will be definitely getting a much more resilient supply.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
And it'll be nice to see the website updated too.
Great. All right, we have a bunch of CPO announcements, so I'm just going to get started. I guess I'll pin myself up here. No, what did I do? I don't know what I did. Anyway, I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. So one announcement that I'd like to share is this link, which is the petition to create an initiative for gun safety. And I'm not going to argue the case. I'm sure that most of us have made up our mind how we feel about it, but this is the group that's doing it. And if you want to get involved, and apparently you can sign the petition on their website, or you can download it and get petitions for people to sign. And that's that. I'm not going to get into the question. I did not get a mailed copy of our agenda, and I'm on the mailing list. Did anybody? If you got a mailed copy of the CPO1 agenda, just raise your hand real briefly. Oh, 2 people did. Well, that's something. Okay. I don't know what happened to mine. The mail is tricky. Okay. No. And the hearings officers, today at 4 was the deadline for comments. So I didn't even put that in there because it's too late. But if there are responses and further comments, that will be open. And maybe Fran can briefly share anything that people can do at this point.
Yep,
Fran?
I'm here. So yes, this was the hearings officer, Mr. Turner was extremely good about explaining the whole process to us all at the appeals hearing, which was held on the 31st of May. And then this was a hearing to provide testimony specifically related to the law and the policy and factual evidence of new information that came out in the first hearing on May 31st. So then the next date was today, was the cutoff by 4 p.m. And I like the idea, by Commissioner Teresa, of setting a date of like 4 p.m. instead of end of day, because that gives the planning, whoever's in the agency, a chance to really get a closure before they stay up all night. Anyway, so then the July 21st, I believe, is the next data point, where from now until July 21st is when the hearings officer will be reviewing the materials. And then he will probably be coming out with some kind of recommendation, or I believe there's yet another opportunity for the development applicant to respond to whatever came about. So it's going to take before this comes to bear. The big thing on the table for everybody is the fact that it was questioning whether or not policy 869 is even valid right now. That was a big surprise for everybody, as well as the development code of 422. So there's a lot at stake here in terms of all of this, more than any of us would have ever dreamed.
One surprising thing we noticed was that the development application came in and was accepted in that extremely short window between the time that the previous laws were in effect and explain that really briefly, Fran.
Okay. So yes. Okay. So the first action that someone took, which was Joe Warren and CPO4M, was in the I'll remember the
Oh,
name of it, but anyway, I'll remember it. The Crestline property. And then that took about a year and a half, 2 years to go through, and LUBA, Land Use and Boards of Appeals, had put first they put an injunction on any new development applications, and then Washington County Board of Commissioners then did an engrossed policy 869 to address the issues that were not clear and objective in the code. And the CPO4M and Joe Warren challenged what was still done, which was they felt was not adequate to make it clear and objective to address the needs. And so then LUBA put the Land Use Board of Appeal put another remand, which is different from an injunction. The remand ended on the 28th of September. I'm sorry, the injunction ended on the 28th, and then the remand came on the 29th. So there was a 1-day window of open, and that's when the development application happened to be come into the land use transfer. Now, I mean, there's no, these are the facts that lay out. Knowledgeable lawyer who's challenged this a great deal. So it's 8 acres of significance with wetlands and a stream in it. If anybody wants any detailed information, I'm more than happy to provide it. We're not against all development, as everybody knows. We just feel you need to look at the existing trees. This is a real forest. Trees 150, 175 feet tall, and they're replacing with 18-inch saplings, which 15%. So that's not quite an equivalent. That's why we need to have something more clear metric in the code.
Thank you, Fran.
Anyway, that's it.
Okay, I got to keep moving along. So a application has been submitted for another development, which is, there we are. It's on the north side of McDaniel. And then I also have the Google Earth picture of that, so you know where it is. There will be a hearing on June 16th at 1 p.m. Here's the this is where it is. Here's Bonnie Slope School. All of this other area around here has been developed. The Ironwood Blackhawk is up here, and this is the property in question. There was a couple of very lively neighborhood meetings, and the neighbors wanted trees saved and so forth. But as far as we know, that won't happen. So, but the hearing is on the 16th, and people are welcome to join that hearing and attend that hearing and make comments. So
another little woods bites the dust.
Yeah. Well, what's going on?
What are you going to do?
I'm gonna.
It's all in the development code.
Something in here, which is a page on the Washington County website, which is pretty interesting here. This is comments on a project, and I'll put the URL in too. Where am I? Okay, I copied it. I'll put it in a moment. So any development projects that are open for public comment are listed on this page. And I mean, us land use geeks kind of look at this fairly regularly, but when you go here, you can click over to the project itself, and then you get some of the facts. This wasn't working earlier today, but I'm not even going to try it. I had Melissa send me the image of the application. I got it in the mail, but it was easier not to scan it. So anyway, that helps us to be able to participate in land use development. So it's a good thing, a good thing. The next item on my list is, surprise, surprise, the gas station in a wetland The hearing was scheduled for this week, but it's been canceled because the developer has withdrawn his current application and has submitted another one, but we don't know what he's proposing. This is maybe the fourth or fifth iteration of Bob Barman's dream to have a gas station at the corner of West Union and 185th, right adjacent to the THPRD wetlands. And there's a guy in CPO7 who's been leading an effort called nabgas.com, NAB, Neighbors Against Bethany Gas Station, I think. Nabgas.com if you want to learn more about that. What's going on here? Okay, there we go. And I'll just put that. If you go to his site and sign up, he publishes a newsletter, and you'll get the news as soon as anybody does about the progress of that project. And now, that was a lot to get through. Roger Ellickson, who was with us earlier, if you want to go ahead and start your video again, Roger, we will hear from you. He wants to see if there are people interested in forming a CPO1 subcommittee about sidewalks. There he is.
Hi, thanks, Virginia. Thanks, Bruce, and thanks, Washington County. Let me start off. I'm a big supporter of Washington County. I think we have some pretty good government, and I've had really good response working with the county at the planning department and in the building department. So anyway, I don't want to sound like a big complainer, but I'm just do you see my screen there? I'm interested in, I do neighborhood walking, got to get out and exercise. And I notice, is this screen visible?
Well,
Now,
we're looking at you.
Click on share screen.
Yeah.
You gotta pick the wrong
which
screen.
one
We're
it
looking
is.
at your primary
Okay.
image, not your shared document.
All right.
Okay.
I have something happening there. I may have disabled it.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. So anyway, as I walk around my immediate neighborhood, I notice there's some safety, pedestrian safety, and some linkage missing between in areas that make it hazardous to walk and discourages walking. And anyway, I was looking at the CPO1 community plan, and I think the county's doing a good job with new construction and requiring sidewalks. And when the new roads are built, there's sidewalks built. But this one here, the county shall emphasize non-auto measures as an interim solution to circulation issues. I think this one we're a little weak on. We don't really seem to emphasize non-auto transportation modes. And the one I'm particularly interested in is pedestrian. And I was thinking maybe if, as an individual, I'm not getting too far on this. I was thinking maybe if the CPO, maybe there's someone else interested, or if we had a committee, or if I was a committee, I could report on some of the problems I see in my immediate neighborhood and maybe work with the county to try to address some of them. So this is the immediate vicinity I'm interested in. It includes the elementary school, private.
What are we looking at here? We're looking at Highway 26 on the bottom.
This is
No,
Barnes
that's
Road,
Barnes.
sorry.
It's
Barnes
Barnes.
Road, 84th, Leahy Road.
Okay,
This is Touchmark up here.
got it.
Regency Park. The area is pretty well developed, and yet there are missing pieces that make it dangerous to walk. And it's a collector street here. I'm thinking, why would I have to point out to the county that there's missing links on this collector street, et cetera. So anyway, I could develop some of these things into a report and report back later. And if anyone else is interested in being involved, that'd be great. And, I'm just thinking maybe we can get someplace on this and make the neighborhood a little safer to walk in. So I move we'd create a committee to something called like the Pedestrian Safety and Connectivity Committee to study this issue in more detail and report back in the future.
Thanks, Roger. This has been certainly a big issue ever since I've paid any attention to Washington County. And it's one of the big differences between incorporated city areas and unincorporated county. When I first got involved, the county said, we're a rural county, we don't do sidewalks, we don't do urban services. And that's certainly changed over the years, but the funding is always the problem. So that's something else that you need to pay attention to, is how do we fund sidewalks? And as I said, personally,
Virginia, I would like to point out that CPO1 has had a neighborhood streets map in the past where we identified routes to get around.
Yeah,
and the county also offers the neighborhood streets program, which provides money for sidewalks. And so we've seen sidewalks go in on 119th and 113th. And so there is some, and I think you have a really good proposal. Yeah. This is a great proposal, Roger. And I think the idea of having a subcommittee really is good. And the fact that you volunteered to be like the one who does the work makes it likely that you will get something done.
And what I was going to say is that the CPO leadership is more than happy to advise the committee. We've been around this topic over and over again, and it's not like we tried it and it didn't work. It's more like we know all the ins and outs of it, and we can keep you from barking up the wrong trees. So, Fran, unmute.
Yeah. Forgive me, I can't remember which group it is. Okay, so there is a county overall committee, and I don't remember, it's safe sidewalks and safe paths to school.
We had a committee called Connecting Neighborhoods, a subcommittee that was active when I first got started, and that was our mission, was advocating for pedestrians.
Let me just go up a level. Okay, just hang on, go up a level. And I can't remember exactly what this is, but they help advise the county on prioritization of dollars to fund sidewalks, et cetera. And I don't remember if this is EarnDeck or one of these kinds of things. And all I'm saying is that it sounds as if CPO1 needs to formulate what it is we believe we need in CPO1, and then find out who that point position is in the county agencies, and I can't remember which committee it is, but then report into that group to get our voices heard so that it's prioritized on the budget and all the different improvements that need to be done. But there is an overriding committee that looks into this whole thing. It just, these things need to be submitted to them. And forgive me, I can't remember which one, what it is, but I could find out right away from Ray.
Roger,
yeah, that was.
Fran, I think your microphone is misbehaving.
Yeah, it is. You sound like you swallowed a mouthful of gravel.
Or you were an alien talking from space.
Oh, sorry.
So what I would say that the next step would be for Roger, if you want to put your email address in the chat.
He made a motion.
Box.
He made a motion.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
We could have. Does any of the attendees want to vote? Want to second the motion to
Raise
vote
your hand.
on having a subcommittee, as Roger described? Yeah. Okay, we got a second. Janice seconded.
Excellent.
Denise.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we form a CPO1 pedestrian safety committee. Does that sound good, Roger?
Safety and connectivity, yes.
Yeah, pedestrian safety and connectivity committee.
Subcommittee. Yeah.
Subcommittee, exactly.
Yeah.
So is there any further discussion? And then if we vote to do it, You know, we have a button down here called polls. I don't even know. Interesting. New poll, maybe.
We have a couple of hands up in the attendees.
Yeah. Go ahead and call on them. I'm going to see
And
if I
then
can
Ken
figure
Peters,
this
there's
poll
Ken.
thing out.
I don't have editorial control, Virginia.
Okay. Go ahead and call on people, Bruce. You're the co-host.
You didn't make me a co-host. I can't.
Oh.
I can't let.
Now you are.
Okay, I can. Janice, do
Yes,
you want
you
to
can.
say something?
I don't know what the deal is with this poll, but it would be a good way to vote if we can do it.
Were you asking me a question?
Well, yes, you have your hand up. I was wondering if you wanted to
Oh.
say something.
Sorry, I was just saying that, yes, I would willing to second the motion on the,
Great.
I don't know. I didn't mean to leave my hand up.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Just checking. One didn't want to leave you ignored. Okay.
Thank you.
And Janice. Oh no, I'm sorry. Moni.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to support the proposal of having subcommittee about the pet safety and connectivity. Support Roger E proposal. That's all I want to say.
Great. Roger, are you going to put any contact information in the chat so somebody can get a hold of you?
Sure.
Well, Roger, do you want to stop sharing your screen? I think we're ready for that. I can't figure out this poll. Did we take a vote on the subcommittee?
Yeah, one person voted. I don't know.
No, we didn't.
No, I got a poll about the leaf blowers is what I got.
Yeah, I know. I can't figure out how to create a new poll. It's doing some old damn thing that we had from some long meeting ago.
I think
let's just have, if you're in favor of creating this committee, raise your hand.
On your computer.
And Vicky is counting, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm counting.
Thank you.
That is 5
Bruce?
hands
Yeah,
raised.
yeah.
You gonna vote?
Denise, 2 in panelists for a total of 3 in panelists, so for a total of 9 in favor.
Okay. Anyone opposed? Lower your hands, please.
Nine in favor and 1 opposed.
Okay. Roger, if you're willing to share your email address, that might also be helpful. Not everybody wants to phone you. All right. So if you want to work on improving sidewalks, and I mean, there's going to be a learning curve. We're going to find out how things work in the county. And thank you, Carol, for that reminder about what we were flopping around about before. But there's a lot of history about it, but I am optimistic that a bunch of concerned citizens can
Yeah,
make a
and
difference.
Roger was a CPO president back in the early 90s and was involved in some early road projects back then. And so, 30 years later, here comes Roger again with another great proposal. So thanks.
Really.
Thanks.
Pam, you had a question?
Not a question. I just wanted to make sure that Roger knew that I'm actually on the URMDAC, which is the Urban Road Maintenance District Advisory Committee. That is the piece that was put into the chat earlier, and I'm happy to be of assistance there as well.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
All right, moving right along, and a very nice transition to a presentation from Commissioner Treese. And I'm sorry we ate into your time, but all important stuff. So we just asked her to give us an update on what the board is working on, what her priorities are going to be, and that. Thank you.
Virginia, good evening, everybody. Virginia,
Yeah.
can you tell me how much time I have that equates to how fast I talk?
Sure. I think we'll let you go till 8 because we
7
have
minutes?
the update on the BG.
That would be
Thingamajig.
7 minutes.
Oh my goodness, we are really running late. Let's have you go till 8:50.
I'll tell you what, Virginia, I'll hurry. I'll hurry and see what I can get
let's
out
just play it by ear.
there. Okay, and I'm no just I need to come back again. So and I've got 5 pages of talking points. Thank you, Megan, and I'll basically get down to the nitty gritty here. I just won re-election, so I will be the commissioner for District 2 for 4 more years. I'm anxious to start all over again here. In a nutshell, I want to continue with our equity work. We've done great things in equity. We just raised the flag for Juneteenth yesterday, which was a big deal. We have our first holiday for Juneteenth coming up on Monday. We've got built into our budget system. We have this year included a budget equity tool, which is a great new step as well. We're the most diverse county in Oregon. It's time that we make sure that our budget, our investments and our budget reflects the diversity of our community as well. My first term was really absorbed, as all of us here, our lives were absorbed by COVID. This term, we're moving through the pandemic. We're getting our handles on the pandemic. We're learning how to live and deal with the pandemic, which opens up the world to me in relationship to being able to focus on what I really want to focus on. And I'm pleased to tell you that a big part is going to be around climate-related issues. I'm looking at the people and the faces here. You all have been a part of that, and I so appreciate what you've done in terms of being activists around climate-related issues, but also including me in the conversations, educating me along the way. And I also put Commissioner Fye into that. Commissioner Fye and I are working together to put forth a resolution to the board around climate related activities for the county, with a change of focus from an internal focus much more to an external focus. The other piece that is going to be in the climate resolution that I'm excited about is a climate advisory committee. So that is going to be a part of it. I'm really excited about that. I've had so much good input from Fran, from tree keepers, from Sunrise Beaverton, from 350 Washington County. It just goes on and on. We also get input from groups like the Latino Policy Group. I had a very good conversation with Tony DeFalco about what the impacts of climate are on our communities of color, on our disadvantaged communities, and what we need to do there too. So I am so excited about moving forward. It's not going to be easy, and we will not make everybody happy along the way, because we'll be juggling priorities, but together we're going to get a lot more done around climate. So I'm very excited about that. I'm looking at my notes here. I think it's important. I mentioned the budget. We are going to be adopting our budget coming up this month. So there's been a lot of work that has gone into that. I can tell you that the county has operated for a long time with a philosophy around not being very careful with our dollars. We are now paying the price for some of those things that we didn't invest in early on. So our budget, as we look at it, is really starting to grow and to shift. I've learned so much in the last 4 to 5 months about where we need to invest to make sure that the current commissioners and the leadership leave behind us a county that's in good position when it comes to things like our IT systems. You know, it's those types of internal infrastructure that we really need. I see Fran smiling, that we really need to be making sure that we're investing in. So our budget process has been very eye-opening for me. If you're interested in attending, I think that Megan could put the date in the in the chat, and that way you're aware of what's going on. Another thing that I wanted to hit on is that we're going through reapportionment, and reapportionment to the county is like redistricting to the legislature. It's different though because we're nonpartisan, so it's not the same type of process. But my district, District 2, is the district that grew the most in over the last 10 years, as we learned from our census report. So my district needs to go down by about 10,000 people. So we're looking at different approaches to that. I want to make sure that CPO1 is in the loop. We are in July, we're going to be reviewing different proposals at a work session, and then we're going to be moving for public input on those different proposals as well. So stay tuned for that. That's July through September for the public input. It's a big deal, and it's something that we all need to pay attention to.
And I want to add on that it will affect the CPO boundaries in all likelihood also, because the CPO is going through a revisioning process, and we are waiting to address our antiquated boundaries for you to solve yours first.
You're absolutely right, Bruce. And one of the proposals is the 4 different proposals are really focused on different issues. It's excellent work. It is outstanding work, and I'm so pleased to be able to look at different alternatives and to get the public input. So my hat is off to the team that put this together, along with support from PSU. It's for me, it's a data nightmare. For them, it was a data-rich environment. So, and really forced me to look at all sorts of different scenarios that we need to be considering as we move forward in Washington County. So the other big issues that we have obviously are homelessness and affordable housing. I'm going to read you a couple stats here, and I know it's 8 o'clock right now. Can I have a couple more minutes here, Virginia? You okay with that? Okay. And I also know that you have some questions for me. Our last quarterly update in May, we had 102 year-round shelter beds, and that is toward our goal of 250 per year. So we're getting there. It's not an easy thing to do, but we are in the on our way to our goal, and we're at a good spot in relationship to our goal. We had 159 households that were placed in a new supportive housing program, and more than 200 additional households enrolled in the program and looking for additional housing. That's the latest from our supportive housing services. I went to a housing fair that was put on by Washington County. Jess Larson has come to us and is working hard in relationship to making sure that we're very focused with our supporting housing services. And I'll tell you, it was one of the most moving things I have experienced. Watching people come in who didn't have a home, who live on the streets, and literally walking down, they laid out a red carpet, literally walking down a red carpet to find the person that will help them navigate what the services are, and being treated with dignity, being treated with respect, and moving them through a system that allowed them to look at what alternatives they have is really cool. And to see the providers all in the same room talking to one another that hadn't had that opportunity before, that was huge. Our supportive housing services dollars has allowed us to bring to our public. So housing projects that are underway. I'd like to come back, Virginia, and talk about all that. Maybe do even work with our housing group to have a presentation on what's happened over the course.
That's a really good idea. Yeah.
But I think everybody would be interested in that. And we have some right here in District 2 that are going in that you know about. So I'm again, as far as what's on my plate, I am. It's land use and transportation department and District 2 are like this all the time. I think I'm on Stephen Roberts' speed dial, and I know he's on mine. So it's whether the issue is the Cornell widening project, BG development, and I know you're going to talk about that tonight. The Salzman Road improvement, the Thompson Road realignment, Kenny Terrace, the Springville widening, the removal of the fire gate at Ridge Road and McDaniel.
What?
The list goes on and on. So there are all sorts of things that are on my plate in relationship to transportation and land use issues as well. So just know that I am embedded in all of these pieces myself. And you put forward four questions. I got a very a good email from Stacy Wainwright about the accident that just happened at the Thompson Curves. And
we're gonna do a little presentation, and just stay tuned, and we'll have you chime in during then, because we're running late. The school district guy doesn't have a lot of time, so I'm going to try to power through the rest of this.
Okay.
But I did just want to really briefly share something with people, which is kind of interesting. This is CPO1, and then these are the commissioner districts. So you can see we do need a little border changing.
Well,
yeah.
before you get me the hook, I just want to say thank you for including me, and I'm committed to being here as frequently as I can.
We feel lucky to have a county commissioner that attends our CPO meetings, because that certainly isn't the case from all the CPOs. We know that.
Especially the ones that don't meet.
And I will, and Virginia, the 4 questions that you outlined, I'm more than happy to forward those and work with the LUT and get back with some answers.
Great, okay. Excellent. Okay. Let's go to the gallery for a moment. And I would like to bring in Stacy Wainwright if she's willing to become a panelist, because she's been heavily involved in all of this. What we're talking about, it was in the cover image for our Facebook event. I'm sorry, give me a moment here to collect myself. All right, I'm just going to share a couple of screens here. Stacy, you want to tell us about this photograph?
Sure. I am one of the neighbors in the Thompson Highlands neighborhood, and this is a picture of the intersection at Northwest Thompson and Hibbard Road. That's east of Salzman. And we, in January of 2020, were concerned because a car hit this light post you can see next to the sign going into our neighborhood. The car that was in an accident on June 1st missed the new replaced light pole, caught air as it navigated the curve and swung wide and had this accident at our intersection. So we're concerned about accidents at the intersection of Northwest Thompson and Hibbard. And as Commissioner Treese, thank you very much for your generous comments about working with LUT and about our concerns about this this area and this intersection. So where you see the number 3 on this image is where we've had these accidents, and you can see that there are a number of them here. So 6 were here up to 2018, and then the blue arrows are showing the new accidents that happened in 2020 and 2022. And the concern is that I think we've been lucky that people haven't been hurt more. So our concern for our neighborhood is here, but it's influenced by this curve that's related to this proposal in yellow, and that's the Thompson crossing that Virginia has been talking about and has been advocating for community input about, and that Commissioner Treese has been working with us on.
Yeah, so just to back up a little bit, a couple of months ago, CPO1 voted to appeal the approval of that subdivision. The county has been promising for years to straighten that curve at Thompson Road. It goes back to 2014 or before. Funding to straighten that road and to improve Thompson to the county standards of an arterial, which is a 3-lane road with bike lanes and sidewalks with turn lanes, has been on the books. There's funding available for it. And yet, when the county had the opportunity to obtain the property, they didn't. And then the Beege family trust that owns the property proposed this development application. The county engineer agreed to exceptions to county code, to county road requirements, transportation principles, to because as most of us agree, and as it was written in the staff report, because the county was afraid to be sued by the Beege family because of to use their property, they can be sued under the takings clause. Now, I've been studying that ever since the Shell station on Cornell, and I feel that we have a good case. So anyway, long story short, CPO voted to appeal. Stacy and her neighbors also appealed. We had a hearing date and everything. And then suddenly the Beege Family Trust sued the county, saying that the county was delaying the development approval past the state required length of time for approval from the time that it was submitted to the time that it was approved. The county attorney has stood up on their back legs, which I'm really pleased about, and has asked for a dismissal of that lawsuit based on the fact that if this goes through, it will pretty much put the kibosh on citizen involvement in land use in Washington County. If a developer can sue and stop the proper progress of a land use appeal, then we might as well all go home, and the developers will just do whatever they want forever and always. And the county's argument for dismissing the suit is based on the importance of public participation in land use. It's pretty exciting. So the current situation is that there's going to be a hearing. The Beege's lawyers have filed a response to our county attorney motion to dismiss. And we're going to find out what that is on Thursday. I'm going to be camping. I'm going to find out on Friday, but I'll post it on the CPO1 Facebook page. And then the hearing is going to be, oh my goodness, let me see. When is that? The hearing's, gosh, I should have had that in my notes. In July, July 11th, I think. And it's going to be in a courtroom down at the county. Stacy and I have agreed that we're going to go down just so that we can hear what happens. It isn't something that we need a bunch of neighbors coming down and waving their arms, I don't think. Although if you're really interested in it and want to see what a county judge has to say about something like this, feel free to send me an email and I'll be happy to share the information with you. So then after, if it's dismissed, as far as we know, the appeal will go forward. And then we'll have to prepare for the appeal, get our ducks in a row and try to make a good case for the de-approving of this land use thing. The county originally acquired right-of-way right in here because they eventually wanted to straighten out Thompson. And yet they didn't follow through by acquiring this property, even though there was funding available from MISTIP for the Bonnie Slope West development. This used to be Multnomah County. It was part of the area that was brought into Washington County because of Bonnie Slope West. And during the whole Bonnie Slope West approval and development, then funds were set aside for road improvement. And this was a part of that. And yet the county didn't follow through. The county engineer decided that it was worthy of making a whole bunch of exceptions because they were afraid of getting sued. And I think, you know, we can see that the fear was justified because BG sued the county just for delaying. But that doesn't mean that we should back down. There's one more screen I want to share if I can find it. Where is it? There we go. Nope, that's not it. There we go. Okay, this one of our questions, we have a bunch of open questions and I'm going to paste them into the chat in a moment. But one of the questions is, the county is going to be spending several $1 million straightening Thompson over here to bring it up to arterial standards. And yet they're backing down and allowing this section, which is very dangerous. You can see by that map of all of the accidents there. There were between 2014, thanks to Stacy for putting together these great graphics. From 2014 to 2018, there were 3 injury crashes and 1 property damage crash on this part of Thompson, which they're going to straighten out. From 2014 to 2018, on this area, there were 6 injury crashes and 1 property damage. So
I just got to say that I moved here in 1983, and I have seen 20 cars slid off the road, jumbled in a pile on that curve. Yeah. I have the original folder going back to the 70s for the couple that lived on the corner. So it's a historic subject, and had to switch counties to even get to this point. So it's
these
horrible.
Are our open questions, and I sent them to Pam. I didn't want to blindside her. But these are our open questions. How does the county justify ignoring road standards, particularly with the degree of accident? And the motivation for the county engineer approving the exception and the staff report for the approval of this development literally said it was because they were afraid of having a taking suit against them, which it seems like they should defend our right to having safe roads and stand up and be willing to defend it in court. But, and then all of this funding that was previously set aside for Thompson Road between Marcotte and Salton, which is exactly here, missed it. The Bonnie Slope West funding, TDT, why wasn't that funding used to purchase that parcel before the Beaches developed their plans for these 10 dwellings? And then again, like I said, how's the county justifying the Thompson realignment west of Saltzman as needed for the arterial and then ignoring this segment? So that's the situation as of this point. If the judge allows the Beaches suit to go forward, all bets may be off. We don't know. And there's certainly nothing we can do at this point to influence the judge. But we feel that the county attorney made a really good case. It just warmed my heart to see him using all of his legal knowledge. His name is what's his name? Rob.
Tom Carr.
Yeah. And he's a smart guy, and he got the point, and he's making it so we can hope that the judge sees it. That's all we can do at this point.
Virginia, I think that the attorney that was working on the case is Rob Bovett.
Yeah.
And Tom Carr is our
Bovett,
lead.
Yes. And he has been sharing as much information as he can with me because we're a party, because it was our appeal that got the Beaches to sue them. And I mean, he can't tell us everything, but he's been very forthcoming with the material that he can share. I haven't been putting it all in the paper because it's a little geeky, and I try not to bore everyone to tears with my passion. So anyway, Pam, do you want to jump in here and make any comments on all of this? And then if people have questions, please feel free to raise your hand.
Well, as I said in my remarks, I'm more than happy to go back and take your questions and see how we can formulate answers there. But I do want to say that when the BG suit was brought forward, I asked to make sure that we did not lose the public voice, and our entire legal counsel and other commissioners agreed 100% that your appeal needed to go forward, that was the right thing to do. So I just want you to know that I was very supportive of that as well.
What have you heard from LUT about why, or if anything, about why they didn't pursue this when they could have? And are you able to get in there and poke at them?
Are you talking to poke at
LUT?
Oh, in relationship to the legal suit, or are you talking about the other questions?
Well, the big questions about the open questions that I just put in chat.
I can't speculate right now, Virginia, but I will talk with them, and I will get back.
I appreciate that, because we get stonewalled totally on that, and you're the boss. Any questions from the members? I didn't see any. Let's go ahead then, and have we got our person from the school board? There he is. Great, Ryan. Ryan Sika is the administrator for curriculum at the Beaverton School District. And Bruce asked that we have a presentation on SB 740, but among them is a new requirement for civics education, for a half a semester of civics education for graduating high school students. And there are several other aspects to SB 744, but of course, as a public engagement and civics-oriented organization, we were especially interested in the civics, that if there's room or way for the CPO to offer the school district a chance to provide practical civics involvement to the classrooms. It's something we've always wanted to do. Occasionally we get some kids, back when we had in-person meetings, we'd get a troop of kids coming in to present for something. But it would really be nice to have some formal connections between the teachers and the classroom. Anyway.
Great. Thanks, Virginia. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you having me here. Again, my name is Brian Seek. I serve as the curriculum director for the Beaverton School District. There's actually two of us in this role. The other individual, Caleb Bell, mostly works with our elementary schools, and I mostly work with our high schools. I thought what I could do is run through a quick presentation, if it's okay. It's the same thing I shared with our board recently. It goes into the civics requirement a little bit, which I can speak to in a little more detail, but it actually talks about social science in general, which is a pretty interesting topic right now. And then just whatever questions you have to kind of fire away at me. So I wish I could say I was out of practice with Zoom, but I think I got it. So just give me one little second. So y'all should be seeing a screen right now with a Beaverton logo on it. So it looks like you are. So I just want to direct your attention to kind of the bottom of the screen. And those are the first words we came up with as a district when we want to talk about social sciences instruction. We want our students not simply to study the world, but we do want our students to change the world. So I opened my remarks right before COVID. It was, I believe, November of 2019 when I met with our group of teachers working on this for the first time, and I told them that this one was a little bit different. This one was timely, meaningful, and going to be some of the most impactful work that we do. As you may have heard, social studies has become a hot topic across the country in terms of public education for a variety of reasons, and I'll put the work of our teachers, the work of our teams really up against anyone in the country as far as how we've managed to get to where we are and how it'll impact our students in the coming years. So let me just sort of jump right into it. And you may not be able to see every detail on here. I'm happy to share this presentation to be distributed out. I'm not sure how close it's coming up on your screen, but there's actually a lot going on right now in terms of social studies, or you'll hear me use social studies and social sciences interchangeably today. But a couple of the big things coming out of the State Department, out of the Oregon Department of Education, there's this idea, SB 13, Senate Bill 13 passed a few years ago, requires tribal history to be taught in multiple subjects and multiple grades, really throughout a student's time in any school district. While that's not social studies specific, our social studies departments are certainly taking a lead on that. The key piece of that is the curriculum that's being used was actually written by members of recognized tribes local to Oregon, so local to place, local to circumstance, and local to time. There's also, again, not that we need to remember all these numbers, but Senate Bill 664, which talks about Holocaust and other genocides. It just talks about making sure that we embed real and relevant history across many very impactful points of history throughout all our curriculum. Though another pretty important one is this idea of ethnic studies. This is a little bit in the weeds, a little bit nuanced, but I think it's important to know why Beaverton made a decision we did. A few years ago, the state decided not to leave ethnic studies as a separate standalone set of state standards or directions for the districts. Instead, what they did, and I think it was very very wise of them to do, they embedded ethnic studies standards into virtually every aspect of social studies. So you'll hear it referred to as the integrated ethnic studies standard. So you'll see just in virtually every topic of social studies, this idea of perspectives from multiple points of view, and specifically around racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic lines being taught throughout all the curriculum. The little bit of weeds around that I'll just share with you right now is that's not a requirement for schools to do until 2026. Beaverton School District, for a lot of different reasons, we chose to enter right now, and our board a week from today on June 21st will be fully adopting our project that I'm going to talk a little bit about tonight that brings in that requirement a number of years before the requirement. So the one you wanted to talk about specifically around civics education, it's not going to be super impactful when taken out of the context of all of social studies. It's certainly impactful when you talk about it within the context of social studies. If you let me just pull it outside for just a second, really what it means is currently, so before the bill, students were required to have 3 credits, so 3 years worth of class in high school of sort of any social studies really that the school wanted to offer and students wanted to take. And it generally took a variety of, U.S. history, world history, some sort of government and economics, and a lot of different classes that could result from those sort of big topics. Now what the department has, well, the State Department and the Department of Education has directed us is beginning with our current 8th graders. So our students that are rising 9th graders in this upcoming school year, they'll need to have half a year of a course that's specifically called civics. So really what that means is you can't just say, oh, well, we're taking a government class and that's kind of close enough, or we're taking economics and that kind of talks a lot about civic stuff, so that's close enough. What it is you have to have a standard course that's named. We have a few different names we can use, but essentially has civics in the name. And why that's important to bring in your question about participating, all standards, including the civic standards, really talk about that one, multiple perspectives, but also what is that local perspective, local history, or local current events going on. So the idea that we have these CPOs across the county, and specifically this CPO and the kind of general Cedar Mill area, able to bring in that relevant topic. I mean, the topic I just walked into around the opportunity for community to be involved in sort of the way the roads are formatted and the public safety versus, kind of economic development, like that would be perfect to bring to our students and think about. And so I'll tie that in at the very end. So just a couple more slides. I just want to share with you a little bit about our process, because I think you'll find it interesting, and I think it's something pretty good, I guess, that we do in Beaverton. I'm not going to go through every piece of this. Again, this is information I provided for the board. The big thing for this group to understand is Beaverton has what we call a quality curriculum cycle, which is something we do in all our subject levels, which if I had to break it down to one sentence would be what we do is we go through a very in-depth process to make sure our teachers have the materials and the training necessary to teach the Oregon state standards. Now, we go through a long process to do all that, but in a simple sentence, that's what we do. There's 3 key groups with this. And don't worry about remembering all of these, but just get the general idea right now. The first group we have is a group of teachers. We bring together a group of our finest teachers who dig deep into the standards, deep into national curriculum, deep into looking at everything that's available to offer. And we make recommendations to this group called our project team. That's the one you see there in the middle. That project team is kind of an oversight group. It still has teachers on it, also has administrators in there. It has parents, it has community members that are not parents, students, and then always one school board representative. That group, again, sort of gives recommendation, gives oversight, and finally gives the green light to present our final package to the school board. Our school board is obviously 7 elected officials who will eventually vote to approve kind of what we call our final report, or what is our program for the district. I won't go into too many details. Some documents you may want to look at. Certainly don't have time to go into all of them now. Of course, this process took us 3 years, so I can't summarize it in 5 or 10 minutes. But what we call our position paper, that's our general philosophies of social studies education. That's available online for our public to see. We have our best practices in social studies. Those are those teaching practices that we expect to see inside classrooms. Again, those are online available for our public to see. And then we just look at what are those standards and learning targets. We look at what professional development do teachers need. And then what are those materials? What are those books? What are the things that we're going to be putting in front of our kiddos? So let me talk to you a little bit about the things that we're going to be using. I'm going to skip PD for a minute, but I might come back to that. Oops, shoot, sorry, skip too far. So this one, I think I took the slide out I was thinking of. So let me just share with you a minute on the materials we chose, and then I'll talk about the PD, and then I'll take any questions you have. So this slide's not really relevant to what I'm talking about, but what we found when we were looking for materials, we realized that about 15, 20 years ago, we would kind of be looking for a textbook. But now, since the standards are so integrated and they talk about different perspectives, and they talk about the local perspective, there's just really not a company making one book that has all those multiple perspectives on individual issues. So what we chose to do instead was gather a variety of resources from a variety of authors, and then write our own, with facilitation from some trained experts, write our own real place-based, especially in the US and Oregon history, place-based type activities for our kiddos. So some people you could probably Google and hear a lot about. We're super privileged to work with Dr. Katie Swalwell. She is probably the lead author across the country in social science education right now, really talking about taking those varieties of resources and putting them in ways that our second, third, fourth graders can have informed conversations about it in ways that are appropriate for where they're at in their schools. And then we're working with Linda Christensen. She is at Lewis and Clark College locally. She heads up what's called the Oregon Writing Project. It's a project that's been around for over 20 years, and which she helps our high school teachers do really the same thing. Take those varieties of resources and package them into kind of units that our students are able to navigate through. I'll just end with one of our students, what our student shared with the school board at our last meeting, and that's that quote you see at the top. I'm proud of all the work, or I'm proud of what we've done. It's kind of cut off on my screen. And even when this cadre and project team ends, the work is never finished. So keep up the work and keep on fighting. We talk to everybody that just because we've kind of bought and paid for all these things, now it's our time. Now our job is to make sure that we're improving that experience for all of our students in their classes. So implementation starts next year. We already did our first reading for the school board. It was very well received, so it'll pass on next agenda. I'm quite certain, though. Of course, the board can always go a different direction if they choose, but I don't anticipate that happening. So, boy, I know I sounded like an auctioneer there. Hopefully, something along there prompted some questions. I guess, Virginia, let me answer your question directly, and I'll be quiet for a minute here. Really, to think about how to become involved, you kind of want to think about it in two ways. You could go one way, the route of like the Oregon Historical Society, the outfit that's in downtown Portland. What they've chosen to do is really actually craft curriculum. They've actually written almost like, not books is a little bit of an exaggeration, but they've written pamphlets very specific to local place. Like Cedar Mill could always do something similar to that. Or, and that would be kind of broad spread across the entire almost district, could utilize something like that. Or you could think about reaching out to your individual principals and working with the individual teachers and being like, okay, we want to bring in a group of students to a particular place, or have your group here kind of push into a particular school at a certain time. So either one would be valued. And if you wanted to think about the kind of district-wide one, you'd kind of look towards my position or Kayla, the other person I was talking about. If you wanted to go kind of the school-based place, you'd probably just reach out to their principal the first time. Okay, sorry for all that yakking at you. Happy to take any questions.
That's great. I assume that the committee process has already been and gone.
Yeah, it's a long, and we do these for all of our subjects. Social studies started in 2019, It's a kind of public application through our community involvement team. This was the largest and most representative team that we've actually had in the history of Beaverton. But yeah, it concluded a few months ago.
Right. Speaking personally, I have had horrible experiences getting through to either the principal or any of the teachers at Sunset High School. And it would be very helpful to have some guidance from you guys to teachers to say, yeah, get back to these people when they reach out to you. Because I know that teachers are overworked and underpaid, and they look at requests from the community as just another burden. And so we've tried that and not gotten anywhere. So
Virginia, it sounds to me like
a great opportunity.
We have an ally here who's offering.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Be our ally.
There you go. Thank you for bringing it there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can, and the only thing I don't want you to get stuck on too much is it's not gonna. This won't make the newspapers or anything too exciting like that. But don't copy my name down, but copy my title. Unfortunately, I'm in my last week with the Beaverton district. I'm moving west a couple of school districts in a few weeks, so I don't want you to email my address and get a kickback. But
no problem. Well,
you can always just reach out through Shelley for my position. I'm sorry, what's that, Virginia?
Send me an introduction to your successor so that we can reach out.
Definitely. Yeah, good idea. Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Is the curriculum available online for perusal?
It will be, and that's Bruce, that's a great question. The community was very involved and very curious about our health curriculum when we launched that in about 2018. And it wasn't as immediately available as we wanted it to be, and that's a big lesson learned. Our curriculum, it's not actually written yet. That's what they're doing this summer, is taking all those lists of books. The lists of books are available, but then we're taking those lists of books and building them into lessons. But when that happens, those will be just available on the website so that people can see what they're all about.
It sounds like an exciting project, and
I'm so glad to hear that you're localizing it and not relying on textbooks from other places, because Oregon and its land use involvement and its our whole land use system is quite different from other places, and the opportunities for citizens and community members to be involved in stuff is much different than it is in other places. So localizing it is excellent. That's really good news. And yes,
got to give a little shout out to the Department of Ed on that one. Cole Gill and his team at the Oregon Department of Education really spearheaded that push.
Wonderful, wonderful. And please do send me that presentation, and I'll share that on the Cedarville News.
Definitely, I'm making a note of that right now.
And I'll probably want to do an article about this too. So thanks, Bruce, for poking us and having us cover this. It's wonderful.
So I have another subject to discuss, if we've kind of gotten through this one okay.
Oh,
about for Brian.
Okay.
A question. Yeah. I was reading in Pamplin Press that the school districts are changing their disciplinary practices and trying to avoid suspension and expulsion from schools. And it really seemed like a productive way to approach young people, because you take a problematic young person and you isolate them on their own out of school, and that doesn't seem like a very good solution. I have firsthand experience with a middle schooler coming into Stoller and getting into an argument and uttering the colloquial phrase that's in our lexicon, "I'm so mad I could kill her," which you could hear you could hear yourself saying that if you're really mad, "I'm so mad I could kill you." It's like, but you're not actually saying, "I want to kill you." And he was suspended for 7 days as a result of uttering that phrase. And so it didn't seem like I observed it not being useful to him. So do you have anything to say about the change in policy?
Yeah, so there is some legislation around expulsions and truly excluding a student. And most of that is going to impact our older grades. It's actually kind of already in policy and practice. So what we have in Beaverton, so if you want to think like globally, we try to work on like what is kind of known across the kind of edu-speak is restorative practices. Restorative practices are, and for anyone on the screen that doesn't quite know what that is essentially is instead of immediately going to a suspension or an expulsion, what it would be working with the students so that they understand what their impact has been on the community, how their actions or words or whatever it was influenced others and influenced the community, and then trained facilitators, if you will, help to have that student restore, hence the word restorative practices, restore the trust and restore their place in the community. As you get to more finite examples of a student who is not just saying something out of, maybe I would very much historically have become suspended or expelled. What we're doing is we have programs meant to keep them as closely engaged with the school community as they can, while still giving them the help and support they need to, whether it's maybe a drug and alcohol situation or something like that. So teachers helping them through our alternative program at Merlo High School. So those are kind of our big programs right now. Again, trying to keep kids as close to the school community as we can in as many circumstances.
Do any of the rest of the members or attendees have any questions? This is wonderful. I wish we'd had you back here a long time ago. This is fascinating.
It occurred to me that Commissioner Treese has a lot of subjects to cover, so perhaps we could have a 10-minute county commissioner talk, and the Beaverton School District, if we put the actual lists of subjects saying here's 10 minutes to talk about this subject, that would make a kind of a solve our agenda issue for each month, kind of, and give our service providers that have a lot to say an opportunity to say it in a measured, useful way.
Yeah, we got a few minutes left, so anybody can jump in and make comments and ask questions, or we could adjourn early.
All right, Virginia, it looks like that's all for me. Thank you all for your time tonight. I'll email you that set of presentations, and happy to help set up. Bruce, I think that was a good suggestion. Help you set someone up that maybe could be a regular attender to your meetings.
Excellent.
I do have another question on the school resource officers.
Yeah.
There was I read in Pamplin Press again that there was a task force looking at the school resource officer policy, and I was wondering if you could share anything about that.
Yeah, a little. I can share a little bit about the process. I'm not on the committee, so I don't actually know where they're at currently in their work, but it's
in process, I believe. I mean, they're.
Yeah. So this, a few years ago, with the murder of George Floyd, it became a topic essentially across the region and country about the role that resource officers play in the district. And our district has had a longstanding relationship with multiple police agencies, the city of Beaverton, as well as Washington County. Even a little bit of Portland Police Bureau has influence into our district. So this is essentially a project that's a joint venture, for lack of a better word, a joint project between the city of Beaverton, I believe, and Beaverton School District to really dig in and lean into everything collectively kind of called the school to prison pipeline, essentially, and what impacts our actions are having on is that promoting it. And so it's ongoing. I know they report to the board. I don't know if they have a defined decision point. I don't know if they're ultimately looking at contracts or anything like that, or if they're just trying to study and understand. But that's the gist of it, is an ongoing study of really collectively how the presence of police in schools impacts students.
I just read something on Twitter that was talking about that in the majority of school districts, the resource officers end up criminalizing students for fairly normal behavior and not preventing any school violence. I'm not saying that happens here, and I expect it probably doesn't. But it's something to think about, that having police in the schools they have to do something. If there's not an active shooter, then they may go after students for what is a slightly off.
Well, and normal school behaviors in high school can be some pretty rough
pretty
stuff.
Pretty wide range.
And, not being a very tall man myself, I remember some of the big guys in high school, and
I mean, shenanigans are sort of part of
shenanigans. Yeah.
But anyway, that's just something that I read that caught my interest. I don't think there's a real problem with us ending early. I don't see anybody jumping up and down to say anything. Thank you very much, Brian, for coming. I'm sorry to keep you late, but
it's okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, you too, and good luck on your new job.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Be sure to connect us with your successor. All right. Thanks, everybody, for attending. We'll be back next month. We don't know what we're going to talk about, but it'll be something interesting and local. We'll be taking August off as usual, and the program will be available on YouTube. Thank you. Good night.
The recording has stopped.